Beloved, I want you to know something today. You were not just born to exist, you were born with a purpose. You were not created by chance, but by divine design. In the midst of the chaos and noise of life, there is a quiet call that echoes deep within your spirit. It's the call of God. And if you listen closely, you'll hear the call to something greater, a call to your destiny. You see, in every season, God is calling us to step into something more. He's calling us to step out of our comfort zones and into the fullness of what He has prepared for us. But here's the catch. That call comes with responsibility. It requires obedience. And obedience is the key that unlocks the door to a future that is not only protected, but also overflowing with blessings, success, and purpose. Today, we're talking about obeying God's call to protect your future. It's not just about what's ahead in this life. It's about aligning yourself with God's eternal plan for your life. When you obey His call, you are setting up a future that is not just secure, but destined to thrive. So today, I want you to open your hearts and your minds to what God is saying to you right now, because the future that He has for you is bigger, better, and more powerful than you could ever imagine. The first step in truly protecting your future through obedience is to understand the divine calling on your life. And let me make this clear from the start. Each and every one of us has a purpose, a calling that was established long before we took our first breath. It's not a coincidence that you are here today at this very moment hearing this word. God in His infinite wisdom created you with intention, with a plan that goes beyond anything you could ever imagine. You were not made by mistake. You were not created to just fill space or to simply go through the motions of life. No, you were created with a divine purpose, and that purpose is deeply woven into the fabric of your existence. But here's the thing, beloved, many of us go through life without fully understanding this truth. We get caught up in the distractions, the demands of this world, and the busyness of daily living. We forget that there is a greater calling over our lives. This is why we must take a moment to pause and truly listen to what God is saying. You see, understanding God's purpose for you is more than just discovering what you're good at or what you enjoy. It's about aligning your life with the Creator's plan. When you hear that still small voice inside you calling you to step into your destiny, that is God's purpose speaking to you. He's calling you to be more than you are, to rise higher than you've ever gone before, and to fulfill a mission that only you can accomplish. To understand this divine calling, we have to recognize that it often doesn't look the way we think it should. We live in a world that places value on status, wealth, and fame, but God's purpose is rarely about any of those things. His purpose for your life might not involve becoming a famous person or achieving worldly success. It could be something far greater, something that changes lives, something that impacts eternity. When you align yourself with God's purpose, you are choosing to walk in a way that impacts not just your own future, but the future of everyone around you. God's purpose is not about following the crowd. It's about hearing His voice above the noise, stepping away from the distractions of the world, and choosing to trust Him even when you can't see the full picture. Understanding God's purpose is about surrender. It's about acknowledging that your life is not your own, but that it belongs to the one who created you. And when you understand that, you begin to see your life through a different lens. You begin to see that everything you've experienced, every success and every failure, has been part of God's divine plan. Every moment, every season has been preparing you for the call He has placed on your life. But understanding your divine calling is also about having the courage to step into it. It requires faith. It requires trust. When God calls you, there will always be a moment of hesitation. There will always be doubts. But let me remind you today, God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. He doesn't wait for you to have all the answers or all the skills. He doesn't need you to be perfect. All He needs is your obedience. When you answer His call, He equips you with everything you need for the journey ahead. So take a moment right now, beloved, and reflect on your life. Are you walking in God's purpose for you? Are you aligning your actions, your decisions, your goals with His divine plan? When you truly understand God's purpose for your life, you begin to see that everything you've been through has been preparing you for this moment. The future that God has for you is already written, and all you have to do is say yes to His calling. When God calls you, it doesn't always mean that the path ahead will be smooth. In fact, there are times when the journey to fulfilling His purpose in your life may be far from what you imagine. But there is a vital truth that you must hold on to. Trusting the process is just as important as hearing the call itself. You see, we often want the end result without understanding that there is a process that must be followed in order to reach that destination. God's purpose for your life unfolds step by step, and each step has a purpose. It's not just about where you're going, it's about how you get there. In the world we live in today, we become accustomed to instant gratification. We want things fast success, fast results, and quick fixes, but God doesn't operate on our timetable. His time is perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own expectations. Trusting the process means surrendering our own understanding of time and allowing God to work in His own perfect way. It means having the faith to keep moving forward, even when we don't see immediate results or when things don't look like they're progressing. It's in the waiting, in the pauses, and in the moments of uncertainty that God is shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the future He has already planned. We often look at the end goal and wish we could skip the hard parts, the struggle, and the pain that come with growth. But let me tell you, beloved, the process is not something to rush through. It is through the challenges and difficulties that your character is refined. It is through the moments of discomfort that you become who you are destined to be. There's an old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And though it may sound cliche, it holds a powerful truth. The process, the trials, the setbacks, the detours are the very things that build your faith, your resilience, and your perseverance. They make you stronger, more capable, and more prepared for the future that awaits. God does not waste any part of the process. Every setback, every delay, every challenge is part of His divine plan. There is a reason for every season in your life. You may not see it now, but each chapter of your story is necessary for the one that follows. And though it may feel like you're stuck in the middle of something you don't understand, trust that God is using every moment to shape you into the person you need to be in order to fulfill your divine purpose. Sometimes the process involves seasons of dryness, times when it feels like nothing is happening. You might feel like you're in a wilderness and your prayers seem to be falling on deaf ears. But even in those moments, God is at work. Just like a seed needs time to grow underground before it can break through the surface and bloom, your life needs time to develop. It's in the quiet moments, the unseen moments, that God is doing the deep work that will lead to something beautiful. Trust that He is cultivating you even when you can't see the growth. Trust that He is preparing you for what's to come even when everything seems dormant. Trusting the process also means trusting God's ability to work all things together for your good. There will be moments when it doesn't make sense. You will face disappointments, failures, and unexpected changes. You may feel like the doors you've knocked on have remained closed. And you may wonder if you're on the right path. But let me remind you, beloved, that God is a master orchestrator. He has a way of turning every setback into a setup for something greater. Every failure is a lesson that propels you forward. Every no is preparing you for a greater yes. Every door that closes is making room for the one that will open. So when you face trials, remember that they are not obstacles, they are opportunities for growth, refinement, and positioning. It's easy to trust the process when everything is going well, when you can see the end result clearly in front of you. But it's in the hard times, the moments of uncertainty, the seasons of struggle, that trust is truly tested. When things don't go according to your plan, when your vision for your future seems distant, that's when your trust in God's process becomes the anchor that holds you steady. And though you may not understand the full picture right now, know that God is faithful to complete the work He has started in you. So, beloved, when the journey feels long, when the road ahead seems unclear, and when the waiting feels unbearable, remember that trusting the process is an act of faith. It is saying, God, I may not understand, but I trust you. I trust that you are working even when I can't see it. I trust that you are faithful to bring me to the place you promised. I trust that every step, every trial, every season is part of your divine to protect my future. And in that trust, you will find peace, strength, and the confidence to keep moving forward, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. Beloved, let me speak to you about something that is as old as time itself, the battle between faith and fear. These two forces are always in opposition, and they will challenge you at every turn as you walk toward your divine destiny. But I want to make something very clear. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the power to overcome it. Fear may show up, but it doesn't have to control you. In fact, fear is one of the greatest tools the enemy uses to derail your future. It comes in many forms: fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of loss. But the antidote to fear is always faith. When you choose to walk by faith, you are making a conscious decision to trust God over the lie that fear is trying to sell you. Faith, beloved, is an active force. It is not something that just sits idle in your heart. It moves you. It propels you into action. Even when you can't see the full picture, when God calls you to something greater, fear will always try to rise up and convince you to take where you are, to play it safe, to shrink back. Fear will tell you, you can't do this, or you're not capable, or you're not qualified. But I need you to hear me today. Faith says, I am who God says I am. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Faith says, though I may not see the way, I trust that God will lead me through. Fear loves to show up when you are on the edge of something new. When you step out in obedience to God's call, that's when fear will try to whisper loudest. It doesn't want you to take that step of faith. It wants you to stay where it feels safe, where it feels comfortable. But let me remind you that God has not called you to live a life of comfort. He has called you to greatness, to impact lives, to change the world, and that will require stepping out of your comfort zone and walking in faith, not fear. Fear tells you that you're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes. It shows up to paralyze you in a moment of decision, making you second guess yourself and question your worth. But faith says, I don't need to have all the answers. I just need to trust the one who does. Faith looks at the mountain in front of you and says, though this mountain is big, my God is bigger. Though the storm is raging, I know that God is the one who calms the seas. Faith refuses to be intimidated by the obstacles that lie in the way because it knows that with God, all things are possible. Fear loves to cloud your mind with doubt and uncertainty. It tries to distract you from the promises God has made, and it wants you to focus on what might go wrong rather than what God has already promised to do in your life. But when you choose faith, you choose to focus on God's promises instead of your problems. You choose to hold on to the truth that He is faithful to complete the work He has started in you. You choose to believe that even when things don't make sense, even when the road ahead is unclear, God is still in control. Faith removes the blinders of doubt and lets you see that with every step you take, God is right there beside you, guiding you, strengthening you, and opening doors that no man can shut. Fear also loves to take advantage of the unknown. When you don't know what lies ahead, fear will convince you that you're walking into danger, that you're setting yourself up for failure. But God does not operate in the realm of fear. He operates in the realm of faith. When He calls you, He already knows what's ahead. He's not surprised by the challenges or the difficulties that you may face. He's already gone before you and prepared the way. You don't need to know everything. You just need to trust that God knows what He's doing. Faith says, I may not have the map, but I trust the one who is guiding me. The reason fear has so much power in our lives is because we give it permission to. We give fear a place in our hearts and minds, and we allow it to dictate our actions. We allow fear to be the loudest voice, drowning out the whispers of faith. But when you choose to stand on the Word of God, when you choose to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit, fear begins to lose its grip. Faith quiets the noise of fear and allows you to move forward in confidence, knowing that God is with you every step of the way. The key to overcoming fear is not waiting for it to disappear. It's choosing to act in spite of it. Faith isn't the absence of fear. It's the choice to trust in God's promises even when fear is knocking at the door. It's about having the courage to move forward even when you're uncertain of what lies ahead. It's about believing that God is bigger than any fear, any doubt, or any challenge that stands in your way. So, beloved, the next time fear tries to rise up in your life, requires it for what it is, a lie designed to keep you from your destiny. Refuse to let it have a hold on you. Choose faith. Choose to believe in the one who has called you. Choose to trust that the God who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. And with that faith, you will walk into your future not as a victim of fear, but as a conqueror in Christ. Obedience to God is not just an action, it's a decision to protect your future with the authority and wisdom that come from trusting Him fully. When you obey God, you are making a conscious choice to guard your future. Many times we view obedience as a set of rules or a list of do's and don'ts, but what I want you to understand today is that obedience is the key to the safety and prosperity of your future. God's commands, His directives, His instructions are not there to limit you or restrict you. They are there to protect you. The same way a shepherd leads their sheep with care to protect them from harm, God's instructions guide you toward a future filled with blessings, peace, and fulfillment. When you make the decision to obey God, you are building a shield around your future. This obedience is not just a one-time choice. It's a continuous commitment to living according to His will, trusting that His way is always the best way. In every area of life, whether it's in your career, relationships, finances, or health, obedience to God acts as a guard, keeping you from the pitfalls that would otherwise derail you. It's not that you won't face challenges or hardships. Rather, obedience ensures that even in trials, God will be with you, guiding you, protecting you, and ultimately turning every challenge into a stepping stone for your growth. Obeying God is not always easy. In fact, there will be moments when His instructions will go against the grain of your own desires or against what seems logical to the world. You might be faced with a situation where the choice to obey God means stepping out of your comfort zone or letting go of something that feels good in the moment. But this is where faith and trust in God's plan come into play. It's understanding that God's ways are higher than your ways, and His thoughts are higher than your thoughts. What you may not see now, what may not make sense in the moment, is part of a bigger picture that only God can see. And in that, obedience becomes an act of trust, a decision to say, I don't fully understand it, but I trust you. Obedience is a form of protection because it keeps you in alignment with the path that God has already ordained for you. Think of it like a map. If you try to take shortcuts or ignore the directions, you might end up lost or in dangerous territory. But when you follow the map, when you trust the guide, you are protected from wandering into places you weren't meant to be. God's word, His commands, and His voice act as your spiritual GPS, keeping you on the road that leads to His best for your life. When you obey, you are safeguarding your future from the detours, the distractions, and the destructive choices that often result from following your own way instead of God's. There is an inherent security in obedience because it positions you under God's protection. When you follow His instructions, you're not walking alone. You're walking in step with the Creator of the universe, the one who holds all things in His hands, the one who has already secured your victory. Obedience means that you are surrendering your will to His, trusting that He knows the end from the beginning. You are allowing His wisdom to direct your steps, which means you're walking in the favor, peace, and protection that come from being in His will. It's important to understand that obedience doesn't mean perfection. None of us will ever perfectly obey God in every moment. We are human, we make mistakes, but the key is in the heart of obedience, the willingness to submit to God, even when it's hard, even when you don't fully understand, even when it feels uncomfortable. Obedience is about living with a posture of humility, a posture that says, I trust you, God. I want to follow your lead, even when I don't have all the answers. When you live with this heart of obedience, God sees that, and He honors it. Even when you stumble, even when you fall, your willingness to return to Him in obedience is what positions you for restoration and blessings. Obeying God also keeps you from the traps and snares of sin. Sin has a way of sneaking into our lives, often disguised as something harmless or even enjoyable in the moment. But sin always leads to destruction, always leads to consequences that we were never meant to experience. However, when you obey God's commands, when you choose to live a life in accordance with His word, you are protecting yourself from the chains of sin that would hold you captive and derail your future. Obedience is a form of spiritual armor that keeps you safe from the enemies that danger, from the dangers that come when we stray from God's will. In the process of obeying God, you may not always see the immediate benefits, but trust and know that He is working behind the scenes. God rewards obedience. He doesn't just give you commands for the sake of obedience alone. His commands are there to bless you, to protect you, and to lead you into the life He has destined for you. As you walk in obedience, you are positioning yourself for God's favor, provision, and protection to overflow into every area of your life. You're setting up your future for success because your obedience today paves the way for the promises of tomorrow. Obedience also creates a ripple effect that extends beyond you. When you choose to obey God, you are not only protecting your own future, but you are setting a godly example for those around you, your children, your friends, your family, and even strangers who may be watching your life. Your obedience has the power to influence and inspire others to walk in the same obedience. And this creates a legacy of faithfulness that spans generations. The future you are protecting is not just your own, it is the future of everyone you touch. So, beloved, understand that guarding your future through obedience is not just about following rules. It is about positioning yourself under the protection and favor of God. It is about trusting that His way is the best way, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when you don't understand, and even when you face opposition. Obedience is the shield that keeps your future safe, your heart protected, and your path clear. It is the foundation upon which God builds a future that is filled with His promises, His provision, and His peace. The concept of legacy is more than just what we leave behind in terms of material wealth or accomplishments. It is the imprint we make on the world through the way we live, the choices we make, and the values we uphold. Legacy is not confined to what we accumulate in our lifetime. It is the ripple effect of our actions that stretches far beyond our own time on earth, influencing the lives of those who come after us. When we talk about generational impact, we are speaking about the influence we have on future generations, shaping their lives and their destiny long after we are gone. This is not just about passing down physical possessions, it's about imparting wisdom, values, and a sense of purpose that transcends time. The way you live today, the decisions you make, and the character you develop will determine the legacy you leave for your children, grandchildren, and even future generations that may never meet you. One of the most powerful truths we must grasp is that our actions today directly influence the future. Everything we do, whether big or small, contributes to the foundation of what the next generation will inherit. In a world that often emphasizes instant gratification and the pursuit of personal success, we must remember that our legacy is not just about what we achieve for ourselves, but about what we set in motion for those who follow. The choices you make today, the principles you live by, and the way you interact with others create a lasting legacy that has the potential to link the lives of countless individuals in the years to come. This is especially important when we consider the responsibility of passing down godly values and a sense of purpose to those who come after us. A godly legacy is one that reflects the heart of God and His divine will. When we live with a mindset that values obedience to God, faith, love, and service to others, we create a foundation upon which future generations can stand strong. This kind of legacy is not built on material wealth or worldly success, but on the values that will stand the test of time. These are the values that will guide your children and grandchildren through life, helping them to navigate the challenges they will face with strength, wisdom, and faith. When we build a godly legacy, we ensure that our descendants are not just inheriting wealth or possessions, they are inheriting the knowledge of who God is, the power of His Word, and the importance of living with purpose and integrity. This generational impact doesn't just happen by chance, it is intentional. It requires effort, thoughtfulness, and a willingness to live according to the values you want to pass down. It begins with the way you live your own life. If you want to leave a legacy of faith, then you must first model that faith in your daily life. Your children, grandchildren, those who observe you will learn not only from what you say, but also from what you do. Do you walk in integrity? Do you serve others selflessly? Do you honor God with your actions, your words, and your choices? When you choose to live according to God's principles, you are laying the groundwork for a legacy that will impact generations to come. But it's not just about teaching values, it's also about providing the tools for success. A powerful legacy is one that equips the next generation to stand on its own, to thrive, and to build on what was passed down to them. This means investing in the education, spiritual development, and emotional well-being of your children and those around you. It's about preparing them for the challenges they will face in the future and empowering them to succeed. Whether you're teaching them practical skills, sharing life lessons, or imparting your faith, you are providing them with the tools they need to build their own legacy. This generational impact doesn't stop with you. It continues to grow as the next generation takes what they have been given and builds upon it, passing it forward to the next. Generational impact is also about breaking the cycle of negative patterns and behaviors. Many families have histories filled with dysfunction, brokenness, or hardship, but through obedience to God and a commitment to changing the course of your own life, you can break those cycles and set a new trajectory for your family. This can be a powerful part of your legacy, the transformation that comes when you choose to walk in obedience, to live with integrity, and to make choices that honor God. By doing so, you set a new precedent for future generations, one that is rooted in godly principles and a desire to honor God in every aspect of life. This is a legacy that doesn't just impact the lives of your children, but has the potential to change the destiny of your entire family line. Moreover, legacy is not confined to those with children of their own. Even if you do not have biological children, you are still leaving a legacy through the people you influence, the way you live, the example you set. And the impact you make on those around you will ripple out to affect generations you may never meet. Whether you are a mentor, a teacher, a friend, or a community leader, your life has the potential to shape the future of others. You have the opportunity to pour into others, to lead by example, and to show them what it looks like to live a life of purpose, faith, and integrity. Your legacy can touch countless lives, and its impact can echo for generations. Think about the power of small actions over time. A kind word spoken to a stranger, a lesson passed down to a young person, a moment of wisdom shared in the midst of adversity. All of these small things contribute to a legacy of love, care, and wisdom that lasts far longer than the moment itself. Each of us has the opportunity to leave an indelible mark on the world, to influence the future in ways that may seem small, but are deeply significant. We may never know the full extent of the impact we have, but we can trust that when we live according to God's will, we are shaping the future in ways that are eternal. The legacy you leave is not just about what you have done, but about how you have impacted others. Have you left people better than you found them? Have you pointed them God? Shown them how to live with faith and help them to find their purpose? When you live with intention, when you live with purpose, your legacy will continue long after you are gone, impacting generations yet to come. You may not see the full picture in your lifetime, but know this: the seeds you plant today will grow into a harvest of blessing that extends far beyond your own life. The truth is, legacy is not about you, it's about the lives you touch, the values you instill, and the future you create. It is about living in such a way that your life becomes a testimony to the power of God's love and grace. And when you live this way, your legacy becomes a powerful force that shapes generations, changes lives, and impacts the world for the better. In conclusion, beloved, we must remember that the legacy we leave is not built in a single moment, but in a lifetime of choices, actions, and decisions. The generational impact we make today will echo for years to come, shaping not just our own future, but the future of those who follow in our footsteps. It's about living intentionally, obeying God's call, and walking in faith with every step we take. We are called to leave a legacy that reflects God's love, His wisdom, and His faithfulness, one that will inspire, uplift, and empower future generations to live with purpose and integrity.